We are back live. Fighters Corner Podcast. Jonah Williams. With us is on the phone is boxing philanthropist, combat sports expert, bookie from living in Costa Rica, Miguel Durante, also former president of Bodog Fight. So let's kind of give him his just due. So Miguel, we're here on the Fighters Corner Podcast again, obviously, and we are recapping 2019. We know it's a little bit late, but a lot happened in the world of combat sports, and we're going to try to break it down into 5 categories. So, Miguel, let's start with yourself. What categories have you set aside for us?
Well, let's go ahead and tackle one of the big ones, which is Fighter of the Year, or we can start with Fighter of the Year. You got a choice there, either one.
Let's go Fighter of the Year, because I think mine is a little different than everybody else's.
Okay.
So
very interesting. Then, what I've done is I made a couple of selections, and these are just based on my own taste and stuff. But a couple of selections, one from MMA and one from boxing. So, Fighter of the Year on the MMA side, I think it comes down to Masvidal and Adesanya, and I'm gonna put my purist hat on, and I'm gonna go with Adesanya. And the fact is he sold out a stadium in Australia. He's got a stranglehold on the 185-pound title, not some, fictitious title. So, I think on the MMA side, I'll go with Adesanya over Masvidal, even though, my heart is happy for everything that good that happens to Masvidal and all the money, that he can make and stuff. But I think Adesanya is the Fighter of the Year on the MMA side.
It's kind of hard to argue that, based on the totality of his work. And, what's shocking to me is that, like, for championship fights, he's coming in like if you've got to weigh 185 pounds on a dot, he's coming in at like 183. And I had the forethought that maybe he was a real light 185 pounder, but I had been told he actually gets up to about 200 pounds in between weigh-ins as well in fight time. And he is a legit 185er. Yeah. And I think it's pretty hard to argue against him. I mean, what he did to Roger Whittaker was incredible. Yeah. And, he's got the gimmick going.
Well, I think Masvidal is your other choice, basically. If there's somebody else,
it is.
Somebody else mentioned it, but there you go.
Well, I mean, it is, but at the end of the day, Masvidal's not wearing the world title belt on his waist. I mean, I think there's a different category that Masvidal fits in. Fighter of the Year is not it.
Although I will say about Masvidal, one thing, he made himself a superstar without a lot of UFC backing. Obviously, everybody here on YouTube, if you look up his name, he basically made a reality show about himself.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of followers, hundreds of thousands of views on 30 and 40-minute videos.
And it's not an act.
It's not.
That guy is an axe murderer. And either he hasn't gotten caught or MMA has saved his life and he's refocusing his energy. That guy is 110% the real deal. So, Jonah, do you agree with that? I think that's kind of a clear-cut choice. If you had a,
I would actually say Adesanya or Amanda Nunes. I would go those two directions.
That's kind of hard to argue. Amanda Nunes, and even Henry Cejudo as well. I mean, the champ.
Yeah.
I mean, those are all names.
Let's leave Cejudo out of it. That guy. He's more worthy than Joe Warren was.
Okay, so let me get. You don't like his magic tricks at weigh-ins? What?
I don't like him calling out women's champions. Really, as far as what I was done with him was that moment. Even if he thought he was being funny, it was every bit the cringe kind of thing that people talk about. That I'm done with him. I'm done with him.
Okay.
Randy Nunez, I think, is probably the third name you could put in there. On the rest of the list, of course, I think it's hard to discredit anything she's done as well.
With Cejudo, to further your point, he's the kind of guy that's in the class like that you're in grammar school with, and he doesn't fit in, and he's really strange, he's really bizarre, but he can beat everybody up in the room, even though he's like a third of their size. So he kind of gets like a pass, like, we're not going to call him out on this, but he's a strange dude. There's no doubt. I think like torture me to be sitting in a car for like an hour or two driving to like a venue, because it would just be so upside down and bizarre that like it would, like you'd feel creeped out the entire time because of the uncomfortability on it. So in terms of boxing, we go. Who are you going with?
On the boxing side, I'm probably going to take a name that people know, but I don't think a lot of people are putting him in here. But I think that he had a tremendous year, and that at the end of the year in December, he won a world title in the lightweight division. And I'm talking about Teofimo Lopez. Lopez 4-0 with 3 knockouts in 2019. He saw his competition level go up, and he stayed with it. He's in line for a fight with Lomachenko, and you might see, if he has another win or two before that happens, you might see a match where Lomachenko may not be the favorite, or at least the odds won't be that extreme. I think Teofimo Lopez, a guy that was underrated coming out of the amateur system. You talk about a guy who went to the Olympics for Honduras because he didn't make the American team, and he's Honduran American. Didn't stand out hugely in the Olympics, but did benefit from Bob Arum's visit of those Olympics, where he got Mickey Conlon, and he signed a bunch of fighters, Constantino, several fighters, and he was looking for ethnic, fighters. I think Bob Arum was at the 2016 Olympics. So he did sign Teofimo Lopez, and I bet he's glad he did at this point. He's brought him along faster than the other one is Shakur Stevenson. Teofimo Lopez kind of flies under the radar when you compare him to Shakur Stevenson, Mickey Conlon, and some of the other signees from those Olympics. But at this point, he's the farthest along.
Well, if I had to counter, my pick was between two people, and Lomachenko, who you had mentioned earlier. And I know you can't discredit somebody for being fighter of the year for, outside of the ring antics. But I think what took place in Detroit with her brother and, the coach from the opposing fighter, him just laying him out at weigh-ins, it kind of clouded my opinion, not only of her, but it kind of, I guess, lessened her value in my eyes. And I hate to say it like that, but it was like it. I don't know. It didn't sit well with me. And Lomachenko, I get that she became a world champion in world record time faster than Lomachenko did. But at the end of the day, Lomachenko was so busy this year, and in terms of boxing, he certainly gets the nod from me. Wilder is your other choice.
Yeah.
But he had a draw, which kind of eliminates him from that category, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a great year for boxing. It started. I remember the first boxing fight I watched this year was Ugas Porter.
Was that amazing fight, man?
It did set the
Holy
tone
cow.
for this incredible year. Yeah. And I have to say, boxer of the year this year is Pacquiao. He wasn't supposed to win that Thurman fight. It was not supposed to be a winnable fight. It was supposed to be a nice payday for an old guy, and he came out and he beat a monstrous young champ. Yes, so I gotta go with Pacquiao.
Okay, so now
the boxer.
I get that. And that's probably not. You're talking about a long storied history of a generational fighter that has been boxer of the year, more than one time.
Yeah.
So, and then, let's talk BKB. Jonah, Miguel, I don't think you watch as much as ourselves, but in my opinion, it came down to two people. Mark Godbear for winning the Valor tournament, as well as winning the heavyweight title in Europe.
Yeah.
With James Freeman Dove and Joe Brown. And what he did over there and then came over here, he had 3 big wins in a row. And he, in my opinion, is the unified heavyweight champion in bare knuckle boxing. It was between him and Rico Franco, who not only won a tournament to fight Jimmy Sweeney, who is pound for pound probably he's a generational BKB fighter, traveler from Europe. He's somebody that I think most people lost the fight to him before they even set foot in that ring. And Rico Franco not only won his tournament to reserve the right to fight Sweeney, the aggressiveness and confidence that he took into that fight and the adversity that he fought that he faced in the second round in order to stop him. I think it was in the fourth round where he stopped Sweeney because of a cut. Man, I was walking around like, oh my God, like that was special. Like that performance was special. So I think Rico Franco for BKB, in my opinion, he takes it from me.
I didn't realize how unbeatable I thought Sweeney was until he lost. But I never, when I watched his fights, I was always watching them to see how he's going to beat this guy. And I didn't realize that until,
And he's been dropped a couple times. Like Edgar Puerta dropped him. He's been dropped, on more than one occasion. I think 3 total times he's been dropped, and he gets up and he recovers well. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but I'm glad that BKB has come to the forefront in a way to where at least we got to witness it. Even though he's at the tail end of his career based on his age, he's truly a special fighter. And for Rico Franco to approach the fight in the manner that he did, he gets the nod for BKB. And like Night Lobov took place as well.
Yeah.
I mean, on the American BKB side.
Yeah, that was. There's some other things that kind of overshadow. There's some controversy behind that fight. That fight, I really feel, should have been Bare Knuckles Boxing's version of Griffin Bonner.
Or Gotti Ward. Yeah.
Well, I would say Griffin Bonner because that should have been the coming out for the sport.
I agree.
A couple
and
things.
I think the rematch was premature based on I don't know if it was forced.
Well, Knight wanted it. I mean, Knight was. He felt he won that fight. He felt.
Yeah, but look at his roster too. I mean, it's not like they have too many. There's 18 deep in each weight class.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, there's not a large body to pick from there, but you're right. Like in terms of like social impact, Ward Lobov should have brought BKB to mainstream. And I don't know if it's just the kind of change with social media and cord TV. Well, I don't know.
There's
an amazing
the whole
fight.
thing of threatening the fighters' purses, and there's the whole thing of, and then there were some fist fights on. There's some different things that also got press from that event. Kind of took it away from these two guys.
Yeah.
And also for any pro boxer who's looking to come over to Bare Knuckle and wants a blueprint, watch Dat Nguyen. Of all the pro boxers who came over, did a Bare Knuckle fight this year, man, Dat Nguyen, I mean, he
stud.
Oh my God, dude. So
stud.
impressed.
Yeah.
So smooth, such a great transition for him.
Okay.
All right, so anyway.
Next category we go.
Well, with the fighter of the year, let's go ahead and go with fight of the year.
Okay, fight of the year. If I had to, we're starting with MMA or boxing?
Your pick. I mean, we can
okay, BKB. I think we just covered it. Lobov versus Knight was hands down one of the best fights we've ever seen in combat sports. Period. Like it's a top
that. Border crossing different venues, genres, whatever, different aspects of combat sports. That was just one of the best. Period.
100%. So now in terms of boxing, I've got to go. Miguel, do you agree with that? Obviously, Lobov. I mean, that's got to be universal.
Yeah, I'm not deep to argue with you on the bare knuckle scene, but I respect what those guys are doing, and what you're talking about puts them on even footing, giving them awards and stuff, which I'm all for.
Okay, so now let's go boxing. If I had to pick a boxing match, the one that made the biggest impact on myself, I mean, you can sit here and say the draw between Wilder and Fury, but there was a fight that, like, if you had to write like a script for a movie, this was it. And it was Jarrett Hurd versus J-Rock. So essentially you had J-Rock, it was a world title fight, PBC on free TV, which was incredible. And you had Jarrett Hurd, who's mid-20s, world champion, and the sacrifices he made in order to eliminate all of life's distractions in order to pursue greatness, so to say, would be he still lived at home with his parents. And then on the other side of the coin, you had J-Rock, who was a ward of the state. At the age of 13, he was homeless. Absolutely did prison time. You look at the guy, and you can tell he's prison hard, and dedicated himself for the first time, and I should say not the first time, was able to have an actual full-time training camp for this fight, which was the first time in his boxing career, based on the fact that he's been living on scraps and handouts. I mean, and I hate to put it that way, but that's the truth. And overcame adversity. J-Rock overcame adversity. And you had a guy, street kid versus incredible discipline. And it came together in one night, and it was a war. And J-Rock won. And I mean, when you talk about one of those fights that brings a tear to your eye, if you knew the background on the people, the participants that were involved, and you watched just two people willing to die in the ring that night, it was that fight. And I couldn't believe it was on free TV.
And that was good guy versus good guy. Like, that was two incredible people, two just incredible human beings and great fighters, and you wanted to see them both win. And that was a phenomenal fight. It's hard to beat that for fight of the year.
Do you agree with me on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So much stuff happened in 2019. It's tough because Andy Ruiz.
Johnson,
that was.
It made me buy the DAZN app. I wasn't buying that thing until I heard the result, and I went like, I got to see this.
Our boy John, who's unfortunately isn't able to be with us
He called it.
He called it. He was dead right. That fight
it absolutely exposed. It exposed the heavyweight champion for what he was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of call it what it is.
Andy Ruiz is so much better than anybody ever thought he was. And even with the rematch kind of spoiled it because he
didn't train?
He didn't train. He didn't come in ready. I mean, we have a podcast talking about this. But
Mega, who's your choice?
Yeah.
A boxing fight of the year.
I remember the J-Rock Jarrett Hurd fight, and I think you can't go wrong with that one. The bottom line is with Julian Williams, there's also a little bit of the one thing that you didn't mention there about the background too is that's Philly boxing,
Absolutely.
And Philly boxers have that pride, that
Philly shell
that sometimes gets you through, and Julian showed that. He'd already had his only loss of his career prior to that was in a world title fight with Jamal Charlo, where he kind of got hurt early and just never got off and never got a shot. And it was very, very nice to see him also, break through on his second shot, to make good on all that work and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, you start losing a world title fight, then you more or less found your level,
Right.
And here he was able to break through, and I think that's part of the story.
Good. All right, so you're in agreement with the three of us? I mean, are all three of us in agreement, I should say, Miguel?
Yeah, I think when you reminded me of the fight, I can go with that. I was going to select the first Ruiz fight. I thought that, for study purposes, Ruiz did a job. But yeah, I'd like to tip my hat to Julian Williams as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy, in all honesty, like if there was anybody journalistically that actually had integrity and knew the sport, they would sit down and do a deep dive with him. Like if you were to give me a list of people to do a deep dive with, to really talk about their life and get into the nitty gritty, Vasily Jirov, who 90% of people have forgotten about, he's one. And, J-Rock, Jeremy Williams. It's like, this is low-hanging fruit that, unfortunately, we don't have the reach to get. But I would literally drive to Philly, sit down with a video camera, put it on him, and I would have really hard questions in order to get to know who he was as a person. And it would probably, an interview like that with some sort of notoriety would make him a household name, because what that guy has gone through in life is truly incredible.
And it would help a lot of people. I mean, I've So, I mean, you know my story and all that stuff. Like, I've been homeless a couple times, and all the things that I did to get myself out were options that wouldn't have been around when I was 13. You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't have got a job and lived at work and worked 40 hours. Like, you know, worked 40 hours in one job and 40 in another. Like, the fact that he overcame
all of
this as a child
is incredible.
At an age where some kids are still afraid of the dark. Like, I mean, it's amazing.
That's incredible. All right, next category we go. Oh, wait. MMA. Hold up.
Oh.
Miguel, what's your MMA fight of the year, in your opinion?
I gave Fighter of the Year to Israel Adesanya, and, you know, one of the reasons was that standout fight that he had with Castello. You know, when you know, that fight went down, that fight was one of those that you know, I think that's a fight that goes down for the ages, or at least gets talked about for a couple of years to come. This is just a highlight reel throughout.
Okay, and Jonah, yourself?
I would have to, and again, so much stuff happened in 2019. It's hard to pick one, but I'd say GSP.
GSP Bisbee. You took it. You took it from me.
Yeah, I mean, because he never competed in that weight division, and he comes back out of retirement and wins the championship.
Damn, I thought I was going to drop that.
Well, I thought you were going to go. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can go like Corey Anderson versus. I don't know. I mean, there was so much that happened in MMA. Like Stipe Miocic winning his title back against Cormier, that was huge. You know, a guy that was forced to sit on the sidelines due to the fact that, you know, a gimmick match was taking precedent, and, you know, John Jones was about to jump in line, and, you know, like Stipe Miocic, what happened with him was truly special as well. You know, him overcoming adversity. But at the end of the day, when you become a multi-level champ, Amanda Nunes, obviously knocking out Cyborg is phenomenal. Yeah. But GSP, in my opinion, with that long layoff, what he did with Michael Bisping, it cemented his legacy as one of the best ever.
So the fight I thought you were going to go with, I thought you were going to say Diaz Masvidal, not for the quality of the fight, although it was a great fight, but because it was such a huge event, they made Canelo move his fight to a different time to not compete.
To me, that's knockout of the year.
That's knockout of the year.
We haven't gotten it
yet. Yeah.
No, we haven't gotten there yet.
So sorry, spoiler. But
spoiler.
Yeah, that was, you know, thinking of how much you're into the structure.
Knockout of the year. We've just transitioned, Miguel. Go ahead, Jonah.
sorry, I ruined the whole broadcast.
Yeah. So go ahead. Well, here we go. Like everyone's, boxing MMA. It's one of those, you know, it's one of those conversations that has been at the forefront of water coolers at work and every person leaning against a bar on a Friday night, you know, waiting for the next, the next day to come for the main event to happen. And when the biggest star in boxing is forced to wait in his locker room, you know, while the BMF belt, a made-up title, is on the line, you know, between Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal, it kind of tells you boxing bends the knee, but that's not knockout of the year. Knockout of the year is Askren versus Masvidal across the board. It's difficult to argue with that in regards to MMA. Would you not agree, Miguel?
Yeah, I agree. You know, they're both for that initially, and you know, I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue that. I mean, knockout of the year, absolutely. Now, was moment of the year? Is that what we're talking about now?
Yeah, let's pick like a moment of the year. Yeah.
Okay, so Jonah, go. I mean, why don't you recap what we just said? Because I had actually a different moment than that.
Okay. Moment. There's so.
Well, it's gotta be Canelo bending the boxing bending the knee to MMA. I mean, they really literally bent. You know,
so you got two guys. The winner of that fight, $500,000. Canelo Alvarez, $36 million. But he's sitting there twiddling his thumbs because he knows nobody's changing the channel.
And, you know, and DAZN is calling Dana White, asking for permission to show it to the people. Like, we're going to give you a free commercial here. Before I answer my moment of the year, Miguel, what is your moment of the year for MMA?
So MMA?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good moment. I'm a Masvidal fan, so I'm gonna tip my hat off to him. I think, the Oscar knockout wins moment of the year for me as well too, because what he did is he Babe Ruth did. He called it. He said, "I'm gonna knock him out with a flying knee," and then he did it. And we deal in a real sport, a reality sport here, and the chances of pulling that off without calling it are very difficult. And, it was the right time and the right place and stuff, and it was definitely, a stunning moment. Not to mention what it did to, the whole Ben Askren career and mix.
All right, so my moment of the year, which is better than your moment of the year, is when a known steroid abuser gets caught again, is about to jeopardize an entire event. So what they do is they move the event to a different state. So when John Jones failed his steroid test, I think it was against Anthony Smith, am I correct?
Yes.
Was it Anthony Smith? I'm almost positive it was Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Who got fouled in the fourth round and would have won the title third or fourth round? And rather than stay down and get his title, he got up and, even though that table was tilted heavily against him, continued to fight. Like it was just like Chuck Wiggins when he fought Primo Carnera, I think it was 1932, 1933. Same exact situation, to where the heavy underdog got off the mat, stood up, took his licking with the wherewithal and understanding that a huge payday is being passed on because they could win the title. But an organization to do something like that and pull it off like the UFC did, it will not happen again in our lifetime. In fact, I think that's the first time it's ever happened, period.
Yeah, the idea that you can move an event specifically to avoid the consequences of a failed drug test is precedent setting.
With no punishment either levied to the fighter that clearly failed another drug test.
And no ruse. There was no sleight of hand. It wasn't like, oh no, the venue has mold or like some nonsense. They were like,
there's black mold in the rafters.
Yeah.
We had to move the entire event.
Yeah, it was literally, it's illegal to do this fight, so we're gonna do it at a place that nobody cares.
And in California,
the relationship between the UFC and the California State Gaming Commission
is pretty interesting. Andy Foster, who is an absolute stud in regards to knowledge. It's hard for me to look at him in the eye with a lot of respect. In regards to, and I'm a combat sports guy.
Yeah, I was the matchmaker for his last pro fight, and he lasted about 20 seconds when he got knocked out. Yeah. And maybe they rattled his brain.
Oh. Yeah. Right. Well, it certainly probably filled his pockets. I'm not sure how or why. Maybe it's just a state salary check.
The bottom line is that's been going on for a huge amount of time. I mean,
this couldn't have been more blatant.
It's just the most blatant change because it happened after the fight and stuff like that. But usually you're able, because they sort of are forced to bring Jones to Vegas if they can. But, it's like, it reminds me of Bellator popping up in Texas for Ken Shamrock's, fights.
Yeah.
And, lo and behold, Ken Shamrock fighting in Texas, and who's in charge of the Texas Boxing Commission? Guy Metzger.
Yeah, Metzger. Yeah.
Look at that. So they're going to do a lot of drug testing there. Not to mention the fact that the Texas Boxing Commission is not, completely bereft, but it's not Vegas. It's not, a high income, commission where they have $1 million fights and stuff. I mean, periodically Texas and Dallas Stadium and stuff like that will bring a mega fight, and they've got some good promoters there and stuff, but they don't have the budget to drug test everybody. No. So, you get extremely limited drug testing there. Something that fighters do. So you put your show in locations like that, and you don't even mess with having to move them. That's been going on all the time.
All right, so now, what's your boxing moment of the year, Miguel?
Boxing moment of the year has got to be when Joshua hit the canvas against Andy Ruiz that first time.
It's hard to argue that.
You know, up until when the fight's going slow, I think we can all agree that Joshua was banking rounds like he usually does. Not doing much, but, staying ahead of the game. And then he drops Ruiz, and it turns into everybody says, oh, well, late replacement, this, that. He wasn't supposed to be there and everything. And the fight was going exactly according to the way everybody sort of could have expected. Nobody was surprised until that moment, until Ruiz got up and said, you know what? This guy just come in line at Taco Bell.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. Like, it's hard to argue that. I mean, that is my boxing moment of the year.
Yeah, and for context, a lot of people forget the actual fight, that Andy Ruiz got knocked down, and he actually fell almost in a Kimura, like chicken winged his arm. I thought he injured himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was early.
It was third round, and then when Joshua tried to jump on him, essentially he went. If he would have kept boxing,
he threw his discipline out the window.
Yeah, he threw his discipline out the window.
He smelled blood in the water, and when he went in,
he should have kept boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he would have kept boxing, I think he would have stopped Ruiz in the ninth.
Yeah.
7th, 8th, 9th.
So that's moment of the year, and it's also most screwed person of the year, because I feel like now that everybody knows what a monster Andy Ruiz is, and there's no denying it,
and there's no belt associated with him, who's going to fight him?
Nobody's fighting him.
No one's fighting him. Yeah.
As bad a shape as he was in for the second fight,
you're totally
he was
right.
Dangerous in the 12th round. Out of shape, he's still dangerous all the way to the 12th.
Without a belt around him, who's going to want to take him?
That happens when conservatives don't fight throwing no punches.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was horrible. That was, in my opinion, the worst boxing match.
And if you have the bad taste to watch it again, don't. But if you do, look for the 45-second mark.
If you need to go to bed early one night,
you're
having trouble, no more sheep to count.
You run out of Xanax or something like that. Look at the 45-second mark. The last 45 seconds of every round is where Joshua starts fighting.
Okay, so he needs maybe just edit the fight and just go for the last 45 seconds.
He tries to steal the round.
So 2 minutes, 15 seconds
on. Fighting.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Okay.
Yeah. Embarrassing. The main thing with Ruiz, and I hate to say it, and I was rooting for him, and people were touting this earlier, and I didn't want to say it, but he's going to go the Buster Douglas route.
Yeah,
for sure. 100%.
I mean, people think he's, he may be in that balance of, tough enough that not many people are going to want to fight him, especially if he does, go back to the gym and stuff like that. But he's always had certain questions about his motivation and stuff. And now at the end of the day, he still probably has a few $1 million left in the bank right now. So how is he going to get motivated, getting back down to the pack when he gets, the standard call, for a $200,000 payday?
I agree.
He's got his Taco Bell, top paid, so that worries me. And I remember Buster Douglas, shortly after he lost to Holyfield and was never to be heard from again, there was a Sports Illustrated article about him, and, there was pictures of him in his home, and it was a huge home, and he was playing pool with, uncles and people that were living with him. And there was one picture of him, it was at 5 in the morning, he had gone out for a walk, and Sports Illustrated following him, maybe I'm making that up, but it was the deli, his favorite deli was closed, and it was just a picture of him outside the deli with, cheeses and stuff, looking longingly at the deli. And, I see that with a Latin twist for Andy Ruiz, unfortunately.
So with BKB, in my opinion, moment of the year was Artem Lobov. Well, their coming out party against boxing was when they signed Malinashi. And they thought for sure that this was going to, kind of put the sport over the top. And, if you're a BKB purist like myself, something of that nature was pretty significant because it showed that the MMA guys could actually compete, against the glove boxers.
And it's a legitimately different sport. It's not just boxing without gloves. Although I have to say I really don't like the bulking up of the hand wraps is really kind of moving it more towards giving the boxers a little bit more favor because it's over supporting the wrist. It's literally just the knuckle part is exposed. which I think
Well, you have to do it, man. Otherwise, you're breaking hands in the first round.
well, and that's
why I think Europe is so far ahead of everybody else, because they got a woman over there, Sammy Chisa is her name, and she wraps probably 95% of the people's hands that are that fight with BKB out there, and honestly, like her technique in terms of hand wrapping has allowed them to be so much further advanced than we are here in the United States, and I think that's what hurts Valor as well. Valor, it's just 0 hand wraps, and I mean you're like Ishii Smith, like you saw his hands at the end of this fight, and he was just like, man, luck.
Well, and I think you have to.
JC, unless it escapes me. Yeah, I mean, you just saw his hands and it was brutal.
Well, you have to pick your shots, and then you have to aim for soft targets. You can't be punching guys in the head and just throwing the hands and hoping they hit somewhere. And it also affects your defense. You can't put the guys in a plaster cast, which is basically what the Raps are kind of turning into on the BKFC side. But with that said, I like the versatility. I like that there's 3 organizations that are unique, wholly different, that have good rosters and that have regular events.
So what's your BKB moment?
BKB, bare knuckle boxing moment of the year, Lobov night. Like, I mean, I
still
think,
okay. Yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah. You can't argue it. You can't argue that.
Yeah, I think, and ultimately, I think it's. I hoped it would have been in that moment, but I think in hindsight, that's going to be the coming out moment for the sport. It was just a great fight.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Miguel, we're 36, almost 37 minutes in. Any other standout highlights that you'd like to say? You mentioned that maybe it had not been talked about up until this point.
No, I think that that's a nice overview, and get some conversation stirring on there. I would take off my hat to Roll of Night 2 as the moment of the year for BKB. Molly Najee just, he turned out to be the wrong guy. I mean, he didn't have the type of crossover star power that, like Mayweather did, or, like someone like that. And there was an expectation that he would just take, any boxer. And I mean, they got a quality boxer, that's for sure. And they got a guy who talked a good game and this, the other stuff. But at the end of the day, on the boxing side, Molly Najee was pretty much always the B side on big fights.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the rub they expected. I think the pay-per-views were less than 20,000. So I think they should just stick with what they're doing otherwise, which is, laying a solid foundation of consistency. I think that's the number one thing of these other companies, It's like if they're there in 5 years and they've done 5, 6 shows a year, then, they're in business, and then at least, they're there. That will be great to see, and I'm rooting for them. And more fights like Lobov Night will help them get there.
Excellent. Yeah. Miguel, thank you so much for joining us too, man.
Before we go, another huge moment of 2019 was the invention of the Fighters Corner podcast.
What?
Yeah. So it actually started with you and John Gorosky, who I've mentioned is busy today, but we're going to talk to him again real soon. You guys brought me in, you brought in Miguel. It's been a great experience.
And Chris Lytle's coming soon. We're just ironing everything out, so Lytle's going to be coming soon. We got some pretty big plans coming up.
We did an interview with him. He's coming as a regular part of the show. We're going to bring that to you. We're going to bring a whole lot more stuff to you. But definitely thank you for inviting me.
Hey, come on, man.
Thank you, John, for inviting me.
I know Chris pretty well. That would be fun to talk to Chris.
Especially with inside tips and stuff like that. Like he's always got a real good insight.
Yeah, he's super involved in the sport in lots of different levels. So, and in all combat sports. Pro boxing.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that is on the underrated side and is literally like a Jeremy Horn. He's literally like a genius of this sport.
Yeah,
I agree. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Miguel. We'll be in touch next week. We got a huge interview.
Yeah,
huge interview. We'll be going live with that person as well. So, all
right,
excellent. Miguel, love you, brother. Be good.
All right. Hey guys, thank you very much, and peace.